see folks from California. I see folks from the dirty South, from the Northeast. We got the Pacific Northwest in the building. We got I see you. Hey, Floridians. What's up, Floridians? Arizona, ATL in the building. I see you. Rhode Island is here. Kentucky is here. Pittsburgh is here. I see you. Colorado is here. Shout out to the Midwest in the building. I see y'all. Come on in and again, make sure you spread the word that we are on our 1 Million Rising call tonight. Feel free to go on socials and use the hashtag 1 Million Rising to let your people know we're here and they can join us. Y'all can see how we do this. If you are watching here or on YouTube, I want you to go into the comment section. I want you to tell me your name, where you're calling in from. If you represent an org and you want to shout them out, feel free to do that as well. We're just going to give it a second for everybody to get in here. This is your moment to get your coffee, your tea, your bourbon, whatever you do. Take your shoes off, get comfortable. We're going to do some learning together, and we're going to take some action together. That's why we do these calls. So come on in the room. Tennesseans, I see y'all in the chat saying hi to me. I love you. I see you. Shout out to every single one of you that are making time. It's such a busy and tumultuous time to be on our third and final call in the 1 Million Rising series. Thank you for being here. Give it another couple of seconds for folks to get in here and get comfortable. We see you, and we're so glad that you're here. Welcome to this third call in our 1 Million Rising series. If you've been with us from the start, we're so grateful to have you back. And if this is your first call with us, welcome. We're glad that you're here. I'm your host for the evening. My name is Ashley Woodard Henderson. I want to take a second to encourage you to invite your friends and your family members, your neighbors, all the folks in your circles to join us tonight. Remember, if the Zoom gets full, you can still tell people to come and watch us on the 1 Million Rising YouTube and the other YouTube channels that we're streaming from. We'll make sure to get you the link in the chat. But come on in the room and make sure that you spread the word so folks know that they should join us. Y'all, we've been gathering and learning together about strategic non-cooperation and the need for mass defiance to fight authoritarianism. For this third and final call in the series tonight, our focus is on action. Our goal is to give you some concrete next steps for actions that you can take and that you can bring those to the folks that you've been gathering with. That said, we have some big updates about what's been going on with Texas and redistricting. I know that's why some of you are on the call tonight. We're going to talk about that just a little bit up front. And then we're going to walk through all of our calls to action and eventually next steps on what comes after this call. We have some incredible guests joining us tonight, including a couple of our incredible leaders, our trustworthy leaders in Texas themselves. So stick around till the end to hear from those leaders that are coming to us from the ground, from the movement in Texas. Just a bit more housekeeping. The chat is mostly going to be off tonight here in Zoom and limited on our live streams, but you can chat with us on Blue Sky and all the socials using the hashtag 1 Million Rising, all spelled out, 1 Million Rising, if you want to opt into the conversation online. We've also had a request from many of you to have the emojis on less tonight so that folks can focus visually. So you might notice that shift as well. Now, I want to give you a bit of a reminder of what we're here for, what's allowing folks to dig deeper right now and commit to each other amidst the onslaught of attacks. Some of us are arriving here because we wanted to know what's next after our massive No Kings mobilization, because we wanted to learn how we could take meaningful actions where we are to slow down and ultimately stop the consolidation of evil forces that are stripping away the rights of our people, destroying even the semblance of democracy in this country, and concentrating power in the hands of the few at the expense of the many. We know that there are so many attempts by this administration and the minions that support them to overwhelm and shock us. to harm so many and destroy so much that it's hard to know what to do, when to do it, how and where as well. It's nearly impossible to show up to every single one of the urgent calls, to keep track of all the calls to action, to know all the things that are happening locally, across our states, regionally, across the country, and even go globally. Maybe you're here tonight because you're scared and you're looking to not be alone. Well, we're glad you're here. Maybe you're here because you're skeptical about our ability to win in these conditions and you're looking for an infusion of some grounded truth and direction to change your mind about it. Maybe you just don't want to be alone with whatever you're feeling tonight and are here to connect with a broad front of people that are wanting to be on the right side of history in this time. Maybe you're here because you're disgusted and concerned about what the wannabe king has done to our relatives in Washington, D.C., and are looking for your marching orders. Well, we're not going to have a whole bunch of time tonight to go deeply on that subject, but I want to urge you to follow movement leaders on the ground who are putting out calls to action for folks who live in DC and allies outside of the district. Be sure to follow our friends at Free DC for up-to-date calls to action. Free DC is who you're going to follow. If you live in DC, I want you to take a moment to go to freedcproject.org. Again, if you live in DC, I want you to go to the website freedcproject.org. If you're an ally from outside of DC, if you don't live in DC, but you want to turn up in support of our friends, our colleagues, our neighbors in DC, I want you to go to freedcproject.org/allies. One more time. If you live in DC, go to freedcproject.org. If you're an ally from outside of DC, go to freedcproject.org/allies to see concrete things you can do right now to support our friends on the ground in Washington, D.C. Friends, there are so many examples of noncompliance that we've talked about over the last several calls, some that require the ability to take great risk, and many more that are completely accessible to those of us with the lowest risk tolerances. And that, too, the many, many options, can in its way feel overwhelming. Many of us are waiting for some charismatic movement leader to give us the perfect intervention that we can make that stops this nightmare in its tracks, especially if we only have to do it one time. Others of us are expecting movement, such complex movements across this country, to perfectly align across our differences, to share consolidated tactical interventions, which frankly take time and relationship to get to. As one in the number trying to make all this happen, it can often feel like we're building a car while driving it and being attacked from the inside and the outside. But I bring good tidings, my friends. There are lots of examples, and that's a gift for us right now. You can boycott. You can boycott Target and Dollar General. You can sign petitions and make pledges that put pressure on people who buy our elections and demand corporations not be complicit with the broligarchy, like the T-Mobile campaign and Tesla takedown. You can put pressure on any and all of the pillars that we've discussed on the previous webinars in the 1 Million Rising series. You can schedule a meeting and demand your sheriff not comply with ICE. You can support vigils outside of Everglades Detention Center, Alligator Alcatraz. You can support a labor union near you and actually show up and show out on Labor Day with the Mayday Strong Crew. You can learn how to train other people about noncompliance with the Freedom Trainers. Shout out to the home team. And we can bring more and more people into this broad front that we're building. So when new and urgent calls to action are available that focus us collectively in on one strategic direction, we're ready to move together. Tonight, we're going to share some concrete things that you can do right now. And if you still want to do something that isn't on the list tonight, I want you to do it. We encourage you to do the non-compliant things that you can do that block the harm being caused by this administration and their ilk, while also building the social and economic safety net under us and our neighbors so that we can survive this moment, but even more importantly, so we can pivot to thriving and healthy, sustainable, and equitable communities. Y'all want to do that with me tonight, right? If you do, I want us to take a deep breath in. Breathe in all the shared commitment to doing the impossible things that we make more possible because we take action together. And then I want you to breathe out anything that is blocking you from believing, anything that's blocking you from knowing and committing to what we need to get done in this climate. Y'all, I believe with every fiber of my being that we can do this. I want to take a moment to uplift and celebrate the work that we've already done together. We've had over 225,000 people join these calls or watch the recording afterward. That's 225,000 people that are getting skilled up and are ready to take action. As of tonight, we've had over 1,300 gatherings across 49 states and Washington, D.C., with over 400 gatherings that are already scheduled to occur in the very near future. And that's not even counting the vast majority of your second gatherings that are already on the books. I know some of you are going to make a pledge to get some more done before this call is over. Moreover, so many of you have written and told us how powerful the gatherings have been. And for every one of you who's still on the fence about hosting a gathering, I just want to share this one testimonial. One of our event hosts wrote this spontaneously and said, quote, "Everyone was very appreciative and seemed genuinely happy to be among people who are feeling the same way as they are. They also appreciated being guided towards actions that they can take either on their own or with a group. They also decided to create a group, which I really didn't expect. So we're going to be doing things together in the future," end quote. So here's the deal, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and preview the two imperatives coming out of tonight's call, the things that we have to get done when we finish this call. The first is we have to keep gathering. We have to keep growing. I need you to, if you haven't already scheduled your gathering, to get one on the books. If you've already done one, I need you to hold your second gathering. We're dropping the toolkit link now. You can even build beyond that. If you've already had your second gathering, go ahead and get a third on the books. This is the time when we need to bring more and more people into this sacred work. Again, if you haven't hosted or attended a gathering yet, let's make it happen. There's nothing too small in terms of bringing our people together. Let's grow this movement together by getting people in the conversation. And second, we've got to take action. Tonight, we're going to cover two campaigns you and your people can begin plugging into immediately, plus a major mobilization that we want y'all to join along with those two campaigns. So you're going to get two campaigns and a major mobilization tonight. This evening, our speakers help us see how all the parts fit together: non-cooperation, mass mobilizations, and the continued work of organizing and movement building. All of these parts are critically necessary, and what we're covering tonight will be an example of how they can fit together. Tonight, we're honing in on three core campaigns and action areas that we've chosen because the impact we think that they can make, and the number of people, the massive amounts of people that we think will be able to plug into them. So, my invitation to you tonight: get in where you fit in, know your role and play it excellently to block and build in this moment, to be non-compliant, non-cooperative in this moment. Let's take action together. And if you can do more things or other things than what's on our list of calls to action tonight, do it and shout it out too. So with that, I want to talk about something that's probably on a lot of our minds: Texas and the redistricting fight. For those of you who haven't heard yet, some wild and escalating stuff is going down in Texas, and we need to fight it. The long and short of it is, MAGA Republicans are attempting a hostile takeover of Congress in 2026 by gerrymandering red states where they have trifectas of power. One of the most significant examples of this is happening right now in Texas, where Governor Greg Abbott has proposed redistricting the state's congressional maps in an attempt to create 5 additional GOP-favored districts, all because Trump asked him to. Republicans are also exploring opportunities in states like Florida and Indiana, and I know y'all are on the call tonight. This situation is an obvious escalation, y'all. Redistricting is supposed to be tied to the census, the once-in-a-decade national headcount of our population, where every single resident in the United States is counted. To break that precedent and redistrict mid-decade for political purposes is a massive red flag by this administration and its supporters. Those are just the basics. I'm extremely grateful that joining us later in the call, we have folks who are part of this fight directly in Texas who are going to talk about what this means and how we can be supportive of them. All right, folks, that's enough from me. I'm going to hand the mic over to our speakers who are going to walk us through our calls to action and non-cooperation campaigns. First, we're going to hear from my friend, my sister, my comrade, Nady Dominguez of Organized Power in Numbers, who's going to talk about our Signs of Solidarity campaign. Then you're going to hear from the incredible Andrew O'Neill at Indivisible, who's going to talk about the Avelo Airlines pressure campaign. And then finally, you're going to hear from Drusilla Tigner from Texas for All and Chair Jean Wu from Texas, the state legislature, who's going to talk about the redistricting fight and how we can show up to support. So, to kick it off, Nady's going to talk about some of the work to fight ICE and protect our immigrant communities that our call to action tonight is meant to build upon. Please join me in giving the warmest welcome to Nady Dominguez of Organized Power in Numbers. Nady, I'll toss it to you.
Thank you, Ash. Hi, everyone. This is beautiful. I can't believe there's 20,000 of you in this call. So I'm going to just jump into it. Look, for us, fighting for immigrant justice is workers' rights. And in this moment where we're facing a fascist government that believes that we should weaponize every single piece of our government against poor and working class people, that includes immigrant workers and immigrant families. And you all have seen what I've seen in the last couple of months of just how much more escalated those attacks have gotten in our communities. And what we were prepared to do, honestly, I think it's going to take many different tactics to meet the moment. But one thing that we've been doing that I think many of you could do in your own communities and neighborhoods is talk to business owners. So many of our immigrant rights organizations have been doing amazing work talking to people directly impacted about their rights as workers, as immigrants, as just regular people, and what to do when you're dealing with any enforcement agency. But one thing we saw is that we actually needed more people to talk to business owners because what we've been seeing is businesses being used as the target locations for these immigration rates. And so you will learn today, and I know you've been sharing a lot of our materials already in the past, but we basically created a very simple toolkit that you all are gonna adopt and have in your own way, where we have a small script where we just encourage people to go to their local coffee shop, their local restaurant, your local club, wherever you hang out and you do your things, to talk to those business owners about, hey, do you know what to do if immigration comes knocking on your door? Do you know what you can and cannot do if they just bust in here and ask you for information or people's documents? And then we do a quick kind of on the spot know your rights training for the business owners to know that in fact they can do things to do harm reduction in this moment, like put up signs that say this is not public, it's not a public place. It's actually a private property, and you can't come in here unless you have a signed warrant by a judge. Or to say, I'm not going to give you any documents unless I also see a signed warrant by a judge with the name of a specific person. There are very specific things that many of us could be doing that could be a difference between having a raid be successful where dozens or sometimes hundreds of workers may get detained and then be shipped out of their own community so that it's harder for their families and community organizations to fight for them, or actually hold the line and just say, we're not opening this door. You don't got a signed warrant by a judge, so we're not doing this. And we have seen it work. In Los Angeles, after the June escalator raids, we have hit thousands of business owner doors that now you'll see in the wild signs that say, this is private property. You need a signed warrant to come in, where employers are actually organizing themselves and asking us for more help in informing other small business owners of what they can or cannot do. So we're very excited about all of you going out there and having at minimum 20,000 conversations. If everyone here goes out and talks to one business owner, those are 20,000 business owners that are going to know what they can or should not do when they're faced with any enforcement agency showing up to their work of place. But maybe you do more. So we're just very thankful to you all for doing this. it makes a big difference. It makes a difference in construction sites, in hospitals, in coffee shops. These are the conversations we need to be having with each other. And I think that what you're going to do is going to have a huge impact on your community. Here are just quick tips. One, people have been very excited to get this information. We haven't really come across a small business owner that shuts the door on us. They may be curious, they may not know maybe a lot of what's going on, but they want to be informed. They see this as a cost benefit to them, honestly, to know their rights. Number two, you may end up talking to some workers, and sometimes things are very good in that workplace, but sometimes if a worker overhears you talking to the employer about something that is good, they may feel comfortable telling you, you know what, I kind of have an issue going on here. We don't get rest breaks, or we haven't gotten paid our overtime. And so we want to make sure that you all know that as Organized Power Numbers, we want to be a helpful partner to you all. So any follow up with worker conversations that come out of this, we're going to be ready to help follow up and make sure that those workers are connected either to a worker center or a legal organization that is near them if they need support. But yeah, go have fun. Honestly, people have been very excited to do this. So do it. All this work has been part of our Workers Over Billionaires campaign across the country with multiple organizations like you all. So this is just one more tactic to grow our movement. And I know you're going to hear more about Labor Day. But a lot of the same business owners that we've been talking to, we're actually inviting them to turn out with workers with us on Labor Day and show that it's always workers over billionaires. So thank you all.
Y'all show some love to my friend, Nady Dominguez. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your brilliance. Thank you for your courage, and for this invitation for us to get down. Who's feeling fired up to support this work of Workers Over Billionaires? I know I'm feeling fired up. Y'all, this is how we can do it. The call to action I'm sharing is designed to be something that we can all do wherever we live. Our non-cooperation campaign, Signs of Solidarity, is an effort where thousands of us are going to visit small businesses in our local communities and ask the owners to post signs that declare their support for their immigrant neighbors and their opposition to ICE. We'll also ask them to create a private area for employees that ICE cannot legally enter without a signed judicial warrant. Y'all, that's so critically important. You can see the signage on our slides. These signs demonstrate solidarity, not just with immigrant communities, though that's the most critically important, but with every one of us who is standing up against Trump's power grabs. And when multiple businesses in our community display these signs, it has an even bigger impact. We should be able to see these visuals everywhere. It lets everyone know that defiance is everywhere, and all of us have ways we can courageously oppose authoritarian actions from this government. And for those of you who have been thinking about things through the pillars framework, this is a campaign that targets small businesses as a pillar of society. The businesses that make up that pillar have a chance to be part of a widespread message of solidarity and protection and non-cooperation. I'm sure that you're like me, and you will be more likely to buy your coffee or your tea, grab a snack, or get your oil changed at a business who's displaying one of these signs to reject Trump terrorizing our communities. Am I right? That creates a cycle of positive reinforcement. And we know there may be some businesses who are not able to take this step. That could be because they agree with authoritarian power grabs, in which case, don't shop there anymore. Or it could be that they're not ready yet. They're just not ready yet. They're worried about retribution. They're a little nervous. Maybe they serve predominantly immigrant communities and want to protect customers or employees from being targeted. If that's the case, we can build a safety net through other businesses in the area and work toward a time when every single one of our spaces can visibly rise up against ICE. If you're ready to spread these signs of solidarity, we're going to drop the link in the chat where you can sign up now. And when you sign up, you're going to get a toolkit and materials to make this as easy as possible, including guides on how to have these conversations with business owners and navigate through tricky moments that might come up. And just a heads up, so you keep an eye out for it when you get the toolkit, we're going to provide you with a template for paper signs that you can print out, as well as a way to access more permanent signs that businesses can post themselves. I'd love to see how many folks can sign up tonight. We got 20,000 people on the Zoom. We've got thousands, I'm sure, watching on the YouTube live stream. Y'all, let's sign up so that we can get our community saturated with solidarity. The more we see the impact, the more we learn, the more we can build on this first step. Thank you again to Nady for this call to action. All right, now I'd love to welcome Andrew O'Neill from Indivisible, who's going to talk about our second campaign to put pressure on Avelo Airlines. Andrew, I'll toss it to you.
Thanks so much, Ash. It is really a privilege to be on this call with you and with Nady and with the Texas leaders we're about to hear from, and of course with all of you fine people who are fired up and ready to get to work. Like Ash said, I am Andrew with Indivisible. I'm going to talk about a campaign focused on a company many of you may not have heard of. It's a relatively new airline. It's just about 4 years old, called Avelo Airlines. Now, those of you who have heard about them, maybe you've seen one of their Hello Avelo ads, and maybe you've had to shell out for a carry-on bag on one of their flights. Or maybe you've heard about them catching heat for flights they don't want you to hear about. We are launching this campaign because Avelo Airlines has made itself the first commercial airline to run secret ICE deportation flights, unmarked, out of the public view, and without any guarantee of due process or legal representation. Indivisible groups have already been taking on Avelo all year, including regular protests at Hollywood Burbank Airport in California. And just a few weeks ago, Avelo announces ending some of its West Coast operation. That's not luck, that's organizing power. Groups like Siembre in North Carolina and Mi Gente have been leading the charge nationally and on the ground, showing us what's possible when we apply sustained, coordinated pressure. And now Indivisible groups in Atlanta are gearing up for a two-part action: a highway overpass visibility event and a permitted airport terminal protest in just 2 weeks. The lesson here is clear. When we show up in airports, in the streets, online, and in the halls of power, we can make it too costly for Avelo to keep profiting from deportations. And we're going to keep showing up until they drop that ICE contract. So here's the reality. Avelo is deporting people. They're doing it secretly and they're doing it for profit. And they've even cut passenger routes to make room for these deportation flights. And they're relying on public subsidies in multiple cities and states to do it. If they get away with this, other airlines will follow their lead. So our goal is to make Avelo a cautionary tale, to show every corporation watching that siding with ICE is not worth the risk. Our goal here is simple: force Avelo to cancel its ICE deportation contract by making it financially, reputationally, and politically toxic to continue. This is about hitting every pillar they rely on: airports, state and local governments, universities, and their customer base, until the contract is no longer worth keeping. So a reminder about the theory behind this action. We're targeting the institutions Avelo depends on and mobilizing people who have influence within those institutions. For folks who've been with us throughout this 1 Million Rising training series, remember the cross-section of the pillar, right? Where you can see how different constituencies influence the pillar's behavior. That's exactly what we're doing here. So by organizing and sustaining pressure from inside these pillars, we can create defections that make Avelo's ICE contract unsustainable. Now, I mentioned already, there are already people taking action on Avelo, and there are ways that you can supercharge it and take it to the next level. Here's what that looks like in practice. We've got 4 different opportunities for you to plug in, depending on where you live and your pillar identities. I'm going to walk through them right now, but don't worry, the toolkit has everything you need and way more details. So if you don't catch everything right now, don't worry, we've got you covered. So 4 ways to plug in. Number 1 is airport communities. So we are organizing protests where Avelo operates, the airports that they fly in and out of, to push airport boards to stop doing business with Avelo. This has already worked in California, like I mentioned, and it can work elsewhere too. Our toolkit will tell you if you're near an Avelo hub. Number 2, state and local officials in subsidy locations. In places like Salem, Oregon, Volusia County, Florida, Lakeland, Florida, Salt Lake City, Utah, and the whole state of Delaware, we will drive calls and emails to elected officials, use social media to increase the pressure and hold protests at their offices, and of course show up in public meetings to demand they cut subsidies and ties with Avelo while they continue to fly these authoritarian deportation flights. I don't know about you, but I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to support that. Number 3 is university communities. So universities like Yale, University of New Haven, Colorado State, Quinnipiac, and East Carolina have these partnerships with Avelo Airlines. So we're going to mobilize alumni, students, faculty, staff, and parents to demand these schools sever ties with Avelo. That means alumni letter and petition campaigns, social media pressure on official university accounts, and flash protests at big public events. Think about the big fall football games and the back to school events. These are going to be great opportunities. These universities should not want to be anywhere near a partnership with a deportation airline. And number 4 is the public and travelers everywhere. We're going to make it easy for people to call or email Avelo leadership directly, to sign the traveler pledge not to fly on a deportation airline, and to flood Avelo's social media with parody and protest content during peak travel times. If you heard 1, 2, and 3 and your reaction was, that sounds great, but I don't live in any of those places, this is the one for you. All of us can throw down here. So to recap, we've got number 1, airports with Avelo flights. Number 2, state and local officials in places paying Avelo subsidies. Number 3, universities with Avelo partnerships. And number 4, the public and travelers everywhere, so all of us. We are pushing on all 4 of these because we need to create surround sound here. We want Avelo to be synonymous with this toxic deportation contract that they have. These campaigns work when we shape the narrative around these pillar institutions. So throughout this campaign, we're going to stay focused on a few key messages. Avelo is deporting people. They're doing it secretly and they're doing it for profit. Public dollars are funding these deportations. If Avelo gets away with this, other airlines will copy them. But on the flip side, if we can make an example out of Avelo, other companies will think twice about doing business with ICE and profiting from deportation. And people everywhere, from students to flight attendants to city councils, are fighting back, and it's working. This campaign is about more than just one airline. It's about sending a message to every institution. Cooperate with ICE, and you will face blowback. We've already seen this pressure work. And with your actions at airports, in communities, and online, we're going to keep that pressure building until Avelo drops contract. They say, hello, Avelo, but as long as they're enabling Trump's deportations, we say, hell no, Avelo. Thanks for having me, y'all. Hope to see you at an airport, at a city council meeting, and in Avelo's mentions in the near future. Ash, I'm turning it back to you.
Andrew, I'm ready to show up and show out on this Avelo campaign. It's like I did not know about them until you all started educating me about it. And now I'm hyped. So again, we've got 20,000 people on the Zoom. We've got thousands of people watching on the live stream. We're going to have thousands watching the recording. Y'all, I need you to go to groundavelo.org and get signed up to be one in the number that take these 3 actions that Andrew just described. I'm going to give it another rundown just so you've got it. But before I do that, I have a message from the behind the scenes about the Signs of Solidarity work. Y'all, before we could even get all the way through Andrew talking about Avelo, 2,100 of you have already signed up for Signs of Solidarity. We already have 2,100 people who are pledging to go talk to small businesses in their community and get them to show up and show out in support of our immigrant neighbors, to say absolutely no to ICE and put up no ICE signs in their windows, and to make sure that we've got spaces that are legally protected for immigrant workers and people that might be participating in shopping or whatever in those small businesses. So shout out to you all. I think we can do better than 2,100 on a call that has tens of thousands of people watching. So I'm going to just put it out there. Before the end of this call, can we get to 5,000? Can we get to 5,000 people committed to Signs of Solidarity? I think we could do it. But let me give you something a little more tangible. Let's get to 2,500 before we get to the next speaker. Is that possible? Can you do that for me? When you've done it, hit me on socials. Use the hashtag #NoKings. Use the hashtag 1,000,000rising. I'll see if we've got time to shout a few of you out for your courage and for taking the step of making a commitment to our calls to action. Folks, let me remind you, if you live near one of the key airports that Avelo works out of, or you're in a city or a state that subsidizes Avelo, or you have a tie to a college or university that does, you have huge power here. This is an incredibly focused and powerful opportunity to make a key impact on a company that is deporting people secretly and for profit, as Andrew just told us. And if you don't live in one of those places, You can still add to the heat that Avelo is feeling by calling and emailing the company and blasting this information across all social media forums. As with everything, I want you to grab the link now that's been put in the chat a couple of times. I want you to go to www.groundavelo.org or visit it again through nokings.org/rise for direct links that make it easy to take the next step. I promise y'all, we can do this. All right. I'm thrilled to now welcome our guest tonight from Texas. We're so proud and grateful to be joined by Drusilla Tigner of Texas for All, who's going to talk a little bit about the fight there and then introduce one of our non-cooperation heroes themselves. Drew, I'll pass it to you.
Thanks so much, y'all. So happy to be here today. Excited to be with such an energetic group of people. This is maybe the biggest Zoom call I have ever been on. So thank you so much for everybody taking time out of their night, time out of their life to fight back in this moment, because we need y'all. I'm Drusilla Tigner. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm executive director of Texas for All and Texas for All Education Fund. Together, they make up the largest statewide coalition of progressive organizations in Texas. And what we're doing, we are fighting back right now. As you heard earlier in this call, President Donald Trump has insisted that our government and our governor, Greg Abbott, redistrict in Texas, meaning they want to rig the maps in their favor. And this is unprecedented, y'all. Never in the history has there been a president who calls up a governor and says, give me more congressional seats. This is not normal. I want to repeat that. This is not normal. This is not business as usual. This is, I see I froze. Did I freeze for y'all?
We can still hear you.
All right, well, I'll keep going. I love that face. There we go. This is not business as usual. This is a takeover. It is a takeover of our government in Texas, and it is the beginning of a takeover, in this country. And we're fighting back. What have we done already in Texas? We had some sham hearings in Texas. They rolled out hearings in Texas without even showing us the maps first. But we showed up and we showed out, and we had thousands of people show up in Texas to these hearings to fight back. We had thousands of people submit comments online. We had people who probably didn't know what the word gerrymandering was the day before show up and testify and tell their story and say why it matters that they have fair representation in their communities. You might have seen them online. We had so many people, so many incredible people go viral online because of their strong and powerful testimony of their community showing up and fighting back and showing in the face of those folks. I mean, if you've ever testified in a committee hearing, there's a dais of people staring down at you, and it's very intimidating. I was so proud of how many people made their voice heard in those committee hearings. And what we're doing now is we're taking that fight to the rest of the country. We need y'all. And I want to be clear, this is not just about Texas. This is about this whole country. They don't want to take 5 seats in Texas because it's about Texas. They want to take power everywhere in this country, and that power runs through Congress right now. They've already labeled Florida and Indiana and Missouri and Ohio and any state that can be pressured by the president right now is potentially on the chopping block and potentially the next state up for this. Many of you know, or have already seen that several blue states have started to step up, but the reality is this impacts everyone, and it just happened to start in Texas, but it's not ending here. So that's why we need everyone on this call right now to stand up, to show out. We have an event coming up this Saturday. It's a mass mobilization event. We have almost 200 events across this country registered right now. We have already thousands of people who have committed to come to an event. And I want you to commit right now to coming. You can go to fightthetrumptakeover.com. That's fightthetrumptakeover.com and find an event near you. There's going to be lots of varieties. There's going to be people who are going to be rallying, but there's going to be people who are going to be dropping banners on highways. There's somebody making a bracelet making party. There's anything and everything for anybody in the way that you want to show your advocacy in this moment. I encourage you to do it. Now is the time to stand up. Now is the time to show out. So please go to fightthetrumptakeover.com, find an event near you, and do something this Saturday. Without further ado, I want to introduce the person that you're really here to see, which is Representative Gene Wu. Gene Wu has been the leader in this fight from the beginning. He is the chair of the House Democratic Caucus in Texas. He represents HD 137, which is in Houston, which is where I am right now. Shout out to anybody in H-Town. And I'm so excited and so proud that he is representing us in Texas and out there fighting the good fight. So I'll pass it over to you, Chairman Wu.
Thank you so much, Drusilla. I, I mean, I had this whole opening start prepped, but like I'm just like completely floored by how massive this turnout is. I thought there was going to be a couple hundred people. I'm honestly overwhelmed by it because I mean, I don't know, maybe if you guys have felt this way before, but I like in a lot of our struggles, in a lot of our fights, we felt like we were just totally alone, that nobody gave a crap what we were fighting for. We were fighting for education, fighting for women's rights, fighting for minority communities. And like it just feels like the people out there are like, whatever. But to see so many people who frankly give a shit about their country, is like it really warms my heart. I'm trying really hard not to cry. So look, I'm gonna go back on script. Where we are now is because in the last 50 years, the people in charge of this country, and including especially the Republicans, have spent the last 50 years stripping apart everything in our society that made us great, that made America great. And that is things like education, healthcare, and just freaking decent jobs. And you have felt this in your own lives. You watched how people told you to go to school and you went to school and you come out with massive amounts of debt and no real jobs. You say, you know, they want you to start a family and do all these things, and homes are unaffordable because corporations and just the boomers keep buying up properties to put on on sale or for rent, whatever it is. And food prices keep going up. Everything keeps going up, but incomes and everything don't change. This is happening because of their policies. They have built this up for 50 years. They have stripped everything from us, and they have taken it piece by piece and sold it off to the lowest bidder. And what you have seen in the last 6 months are the final steps of this, the final parts of it. And why this fight is so important is because there's only one thing left for them to take, and that is our power. Because they've taken everything else. And our power, our voice, our ability to change our own future is the most important thing that we have. Because it's fine that people are waking up late. It's fine that people didn't get it till now. It's fine that people didn't see it till now. But the real question is, can we change it? And what they're doing right now isn't just against liberals, isn't just against Democrats. It isn't against blue states. It's against all working people. Because whether they know it or not, conservatives, MAGA, all those people who live these kind of lives just as we do, they will be hurt just the same. They just don't know it yet. And what we're fighting for is a chance to make this country suck less, to make our lives less miserable, to make everything just better. But we can't do that if there's no power. We can't do that if we can't control Congress. We can't do that if the people in charge no longer have a need to listen to us. And that's exactly what's been happening. Because you watch what Republicans have been doing this past year in Congress. You see what Republicans have done in Texas and other legislatures, voting for many things that even Republicans openly oppose. They're defunding education, defunding healthcare. Trump's big bullshit bill is full of cuts for you. It is cutting things as people are losing their jobs and losing their homes right now. It is stripping away protections for us to stay in the middle class, to be strong, and to make America strong. It's being taken away en masse now. They're done doing this quietly and slowly. They're really ready to rip this stuff away from you en masse. And they know this. And they know that people are starting to figure it out. And the only way they can continue with their plan if the people do not have the power to stop them anymore. That's it. And look, the Republicans that talked about doing this mid-cycle redistricting in Texas during the regular legislative session this early in the spring, they didn't because they were afraid of you. They didn't because they wanted it to be done quietly and without reservation, without people getting in their way, without the public really making a big fuss about it, without them taking some bad press and get punched in the face in the press for doing it, for doing something shameful. They were trying to hide it in a special session. They were hoping that people would be tired. People in the summer wouldn't be, we're on vacation. We can't be bothered. And they tried to hide it as much as possible. But thousands of people around the state drove for hours to come testify. They waited for 5+ hours just to testify for 2 minutes. For 2 minutes. And when they finally released the bill, released the maps 48 hours before we were forced to vote on it, we still had 1,000 Texans drive out, for many of them driving 6, 7, 8 hours to wait at the Capitol for 15+ hours just to speak for 2 minutes. But the effect had its intended purpose. The people spoke, and they're scared. They were afraid. And when we broke quorum, they still laughed at us. They told us Democrats will always fail, that we will always fall apart, that the people will not support us, that we will do nothing except crawl back to them on our hands and knees. We've not done that. They will not break us. And what we have done in the meantime is rallied you. Because in the 2 weeks that this has occurred, we have states around the country. California, we never thought California would budge. It was in our wildest dreams that California would do something, right? But California this week is prepared to drop maps. Next week, they will begin their special session. It is happening. And it's happening because of you. Because the people have had enough. Because the people want their power back. Because the people demand their voice. And I'm here for it. And no matter what you do, and at some point, we have to pass a baton. And we cannot go on forever. We have been fighting this fight in Texas. I've been fighting this fight in Texas for 13 years now. And we have taken our share of kicks and punches to the face. But every single time, we still get back up. And we need everyone else to do the same. We need people to no longer be afraid to be attacked by the Republicans, to be called names or whatever else. Because what you're fighting for isn't for Democrats. It's sure as hell not just for you. We're fighting for this country. We're fighting for the American dream. We're fighting for our right to share in the American dream, and not just the boomers, not just the corporations, not just the billionaires. The American people want its cut, right? And I'm so grateful for you. I'm so happy that there can not be any more people getting onto this Zoom because we have overfilled it. You make me so proud. And I am so happy to keep on fighting with you here at my side. And this is what we're going to do. Today, you've heard lots of speakers give you different calls of actions. Do whatever you can. And I'll give you one more. What we're trying to do is get ready for 2026. What we're fighting for right now is to have a shot at 26. But we don't have a shot at 26 if we continue to let them control the narrative. If we continue to let their paid minions come and tell us that it doesn't really matter who you vote for, it's all the same. Nothing ever changes. So that's why you keep voting Republican. What we need to do is go into our own communities, go into our own friend groups and everything and tell them, it sure the hell matters who you vote for. It sure the hell matters that you vote. And who we elect absolutely freaking matters. And don't ever falsely equate people who are trying to give rights to people who have been oppressed to the people doing the oppressing. Don't ever let people make that comparison. Don't ever let them compare people who are trying to fund education, fund healthcare, to people who are trying to strip it away. Those are not equivalents. They're not any closer to being the same than we're talking about Russia invading Ukraine is the same as Ukraine defending itself. We are here fighting for you and fighting for the American dream, and we will do this because it will not be because of the corporations. It will not be because of a billionaire. It will be because the American people have said enough. And I am proud to stand with you. Let's go do this.
Y'all, if you don't feel fired up after what Chairman Wu just shared, I don't know what else could do it. I can tell you that my social media is exploding with folks who were moved to tears, who are peacock proud of our non-compliant champions out of the Texas state legislature, and who are ready to take this call to action from Texas for All that Drusilla shared. Y'all, our people in Texas are showing us here and now what non-cooperation looks like. If you were with us the past two sessions, you'll remember that we talked about how non-cooperation is the act of refusing to cooperate or comply with requests, demands, or orders from this evil administration, and that enough non-cooperation will allow a pillar to become unreliable to the authoritarian regime and reduce their power. That's exactly what we're seeing and how Chair Gene Wu and his colleagues have stepped up. Can we show some more love to Drusilla Tigner and Chair Gene Wu? Thank them for not regarding it robbery to be with us tonight, to share what's happening on the ground and concrete things that we can do to show up and show out in support for them. I'm going to recap what they're asking us to do, but I have one more update for you about where we're at with Signs of Solidarity. And then I promised I would give you a little bit of an update about who said they would show up and show out with us. Y'all, we currently have 3,600 people signed up to do Signs of Solidarity, and I haven't put my commitment in. I'm thinking about some restaurants that I go to frequently that I know should be on the right side of history by saying that they'll put up a no ice sign in their window and they'll make sure that there is a space that is safe for undocumented people where I shop. So I want to see if we can boost this up a little bit. 3,600 is nothing to sneeze at, but I know we can do better with the tens of thousands of people that are watching tonight. So I want to shout out NCR, Nation's Capital folks, and Indivisible that have signed the pledge for Signs of Solidarity. I see Lori Shea said they're gonna talk to their farmer neighbors and farmers markets in Vermont about Signs for Solidarity. I see Candace in Seattle. I see you. I see Ron Gross. Y'all, Ron Gross is 90 years old and is on this call tonight. He leads a vigil every Thursday night to fight back. I want y'all to show some love to Ron Gross. I see, let's see, Two Horses Studio is gonna commit to Signs for Solidarity. I see y'all. Susan said that they've signed up to canvass with Workers Over Billionaires and with Indivisible. They've got a meeting taking place and are supporting immigrant workers and providing information because that is their chosen action. Y'all, there's so many of you. I see Civic Sundays LA. I see that they are leading a group of activists who have been meeting weekly since 2017, y'all. They're going to show up and show out in relationship to the Avelo protests. Y'all, we can do this. There's so many more of us than them. Yeah, we are the majority, people of goodwill that want to make sure that everybody has what they need, so there needs to be no harm. This is our mission. We have got this. I want to recap what we're asking y'all to do to support and be a part of this fight that's currently hot in Texas, but quite frankly affects every single one of us wherever we are across this country. The first thing you can do, again, is to come out on August 16th, the day of action. It is this Saturday, to stand with Texans and stop the Trump takeover. Now, I know many of y'all were with us for No Kings. Many of y'all were probably with us even as far back as Hands Off. And I want to take a second to talk about the interplay of these tactics. In the past sessions, we really focused hard on non-cooperation in your day-to-day efforts and in coordinated pressure campaigns that take time. Non-cooperation, though, goes hand in hand with other forms of mass defiance, including these moments of mass mobilization, these days when we show up and we show out in solidarity in the streets to show ourselves and this evil regime that we're standing together on business in mass numbers. As a movement, we're working together to become nimble and shift across and between these tactics as the moment calls for us to. And this moment definitely calls for us showing up in the streets. So again, I want you to look in the comment section or look in the chat. I want you to go to the Mobilize link that we've dropped so that you can find or host an opportunity for a day of action this Saturday. We're going to stand, we're going to rise up with Texans all over this country and in that great state. We're going to find a rally near us, or we're going to host a rally in our community to say absolutely no to this Trump takeover. So again, if you live in a blue state, I want you to do it. If you live in a red state, I want you to do it. I need you to make sure that you sign up, you get your toolkit, and you make our voices heard. Okay. The second thing, that we've got some more extensive calls to action that are really particular to where you live. So there's a lot of detail and background on this because it partly comes down to which party controls which part of your state, right? You know, we're in a two-party system, and some of this is dictated by which party has the most power where you live in your state government. So we're going to drop links right now to an explainer that goes into more detail, and I'm going to give you like a much more consolidated rundown of what we're trying to do here. The long and short of it is Trump's redistricting coup only works if blue states sit back and do nothing. We cannot let that happen. We're not going to let that happen. While Trump and MAGA Republicans try to redraw the map to guarantee themselves power, every single Democratic-led state, whether it's a full trifecta or a divided government, which basically means like, for example, the governor is a Democrat, but the legislature is split, or the legislature is GOP controlled, right? There's a mixed state in government. So every single Democratic-led state, whether it's a full trifecta or it's a divided government, has a role to play in stopping this power grab cold in its tracks. There are 15 trifecta states and there are 5 divided states and a few different priorities across all of these. Depending on where you live, you have a powerful opportunity right now to call your governor, to call your legislators, and make key demands. The specific demands are outlined in the explainer that we dropped in the chat. And we make it super easy to just click through and make calls to your governor and legislators based on where you live. These demands cascade based on the level of impact your state can have. They range from making a public commitment to responsive redistricting to taking what we're calling the come and take it pledge, or welcoming targeted lawmakers from red states in your blue state. Y'all, I know some of this is real in the weeds with state government structures and what leverage you as a state constituent can have. But just keep this simple thing in mind. Every single Democratic governor and legislator has an opportunity to play a role here, which means you have the opportunity to pressure them. And I know you want to pressure them. This is exactly what we talk about when we talk about non-cooperation and pressuring a pillar. State governments are themselves a kind of pillar. And now is a key moment when we can push them across so many blue states not to comply with what the authoritarian regime wants. So if you live in a blue state, those are your marching orders. Now, for all of my fam and friends that live in red states, all my red state folks, shout out to you. I know you're a part of this too. And in fact, as you know, we're on the front lines. I'm especially thinking about my fellow Southerners that are in Texas and Florida and all over the South. And we know that as goes the South is a fact, not an opinion. So even if you're in deep red territory, we are not powerless. There are key ways that we can fight back right now from inside the machine to destroy the machine, right? One thing we can do, we can raise holy hell locally. Attend redistricting hearings. Flood our local news with letters to the editor. Call out what's happening for exactly what it is, an anti-democratic power grab. And we say no, right? We're going to talk about the systems that make that possible, but we're also going to name the names of the folks that make those systems possible. Shine the spotlight on them, make them sweat, and make their evil uncomfortable. You can also support the lawmakers who are resisting. If you were inspired by Chairman Wu, if your Democratic legislators are taking bold action, like walking out as the Texas lawmakers did, back them up. Shout them out. They need our public support. They need our political cover. They need media attention. So support the lawmakers who are being non-compliant. Then I need you to link up with allies, with your friends and family members in blue states. The MAGA redistricting coup is national, and so is our resistance. Help raise awareness across state lines. Tell your friends in blue states why they have to take action where you can't. Y'all, this and so much more is possible if we are creative and imaginary together. Again, we outline more of this in our explainer and in the linked calls to action. So I need you to catch those links. If you're watching on the recording, I need you to go to the nokings.org/rise website so that you can grab these links and start to put this work into action. And again, I want to shout out our incredible leaders from Texas for being on the call tonight. All right, y'all, we are coming to the end of tonight's call. And yet there is still so much more to be done. I know that you know that there's still a lot to figure out in terms of what's next. I'm sure you're asking yourself that question as we come to the end of the 3-part series that has been 1 Million Rising. That you're probably saying, Ash, where are we going over the next weeks to months, and what can I expect from this No Kings coalition? Well, the first thing I want to tell you is that what comes next is action. As I've been saying this whole call, and as you've heard from all the other incredible leaders that have been on tonight, that means action, taking some time out of your busy schedule to show up and show out on August 16th. Host a second No Kings 1 Million Rising gathering, or your first, or another one after your first or second, to keep bringing other people into this work. Part of the goal here is to show people in our numbers that there are so many more of us than this small band of evil that is trying to basically make minority rule the name of the game in this country, right? So bring people, invite, build community, organize, and take the actions that we outlined tonight to spread signs of solidarity and pressure Avelo Airlines, all with the goal of pushing non-cooperation across the pillars of society and defend our communities against ICE. We're going to open up the chat, and I want to hear you say right now if you can commit to taking these actions. If you are one of the thousands that are watching on YouTube, do it in the chat. If you are on Zoom, I want you to say it in the chat. If you are not able to be in the chat and you can tell me on social media, say it, tag me, and put the hashtag 1 Million Rising and the hashtag No Kings. Y'all, I want to know that I am not alone in being brave and bold and keeping movement above ground and public and bold and audacious and courageous as possible, full of love and hope and faith and inspiration, while also sharing our righteous rage. Y'all, I'm going to keep updating you as I get the numbers about how many folks we've got signed up. Right now, we've got 4.2 thousand people, 4,200 people signed up to do signs of solidarity actions across the country. I think we can get to 5,000 before I close this call. I need you to do it. If you've already signed up, I want you to send a message to a friend that lives in another city, another county, another state, and I want you to ask them to sign up too. Y'all, I also want to share a little bit about what's next in terms of this cycle of learning and growing and building that we've called the 1 million rising space, which has come in no small part because of the leadership of the No Kings Coalition, that broad front, that broad map of organizations all over the country that have come together across their differences to make these calls happen and our mass mobilization day happen. The short summary for folks that are wondering what's next after these webinars is we're going to keep talking to you. You're going to keep hearing from us. Simply by being registered for this call, for this series, let alone hosting a gathering, you're going to be on our list to get updates and invitations to future work that's coming out of No Kings. We expect to have another call in September. That's not very long from now. So don't worry, we're not going anywhere. You're going to hear from us. We're going to get together again in September, and you're going to hear about future campaign moments down the road. So again, if you signed up for this call or you hosted a gathering, you'll stay in the loop. Just watch your email. And if you're watching this on a recording or someone forwarded you the YouTube link or the Zoom link, all you have to do is go to nokings.org/rise. That's nokings.org/rise to see updates about our next moves, get all the recordings and the links to the calls to action. I really want to encourage folks to take the next few weeks to step into this work. I don't even want you to wait for the next few weeks, y'all. I want you to take the next few hours, the next day, the next couple of days to see if you can step into leadership, if you can be vulnerable and trusting of yourself and this community to know that we are the ones we've been waiting for to get this sacred work done. I want you to commit to showing up on August 16th, either by finding an event near you or hosting one. I want you to take the other actions that apply to you around the redistricting fight. I want you to canvass your local Main Street for signs of solidarity. I want you to think right now, where are the places that I consistently spend my money? The day and the life of a dollar that belongs to you. Where does it go? And can you go ask them if they would be willing to step into this campaign, our signs of solidarity work? And I want you to take the steps you can to pressure Avelo Airlines to stop deportation flights in their tracks. I want you to gather your people. I want you to take these actions. I want you to talk together with your community, with your friends, with your family members about how it went. I want you to share it on socials about what you're doing and how it's going, what you're learning, how you know you're learning it. And let's use this time to learn and build our capacity for powerful mobilizations, for mass defiance, and for organizing, community building, movement building. All the links that I've mentioned are being dropped one more time in the chat. And again, you can find them on our website, nokings.org/rise. We're going to get back in touch with next calls and next steps very soon. And like I said, watch your email for communications from No Kings. Or one more time, go to nokings.org/rise to check for what's up. Y'all, as we begin to close out tonight, I want to tell you we're at 4,400 signups. And I believe that before I rest my head tonight, we'll hit 5,000. You can do it right now. You can make it possible before we even get off this call. But before we wrap, I want to say thank you to Nady, to Andrew, to Drusilla, and to Chair Jean for joining us tonight. I also want to give a special shout out and a thank you to my dear friends and colleagues in the Freedom Trainers. Y'all know I'm proud to be one in that number, especially Daniel Hunter and Maria Steffen, who were such a core part of this process and who we all learned from in the last two calls. I'd be remiss to not name them and all the incredible work they're doing, not only for 1 Million Rising, but to train people up in noncompliance all across the country. You can find more about noncompliance, resources for noncompliance, and ask for more training by going to their website. Go to Freedom Trainers and check them out. And most of all, I want to thank each and every single one of you, the hundreds of thousands of folks who have signed up and watched these calls throughout the 1 Million Rising webinar series. Those of you who are skilling up and taking action inside and outside of these calls, y'all. We came together to learn together, not just to be smarter people and have a better assessment of what the conditions are to describe the water that we're drowning in, but to take the new information that we're learning and actually apply it to concrete, meaningful work, meaningful action that we can take that allows us to change the material conditions of our people ourselves, y'all. That's the point of this call, of this series. I'm so grateful that every single one of you have signed up, have spread the word, and are going to continue to be a part of the No Kings work until we see it complete. The hope we have in this moment, the hope that I have, the inspiration that I have, what increases my courage is you all showing up every single time. So I want to thank you for continuing to be committed to the work of making sure that in our lifetime we see no kings. In our lifetime we practice democracy. And in our lifetime we live and thrive in healthy, sustainable, and equitable communities across this country and across the world. Y'all, we love you. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We'll see you next time.